All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Giving double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Peace and salutations to the Hakim, the brethren out there on the highways and byways pushing this truth in 100% sincerity. And peace and salutations to the few and sincere sisters who believe in this gospel. So I want to entitle this lesson, The World is Catching On to the Scheme, right? And what I'm specifically speaking on is Amalek, right? Who we know as the modern day Jewish people, or the people who proclaim to be the true biblical Israelites, right? Who are in that land right now, the 1948ers, right? Which uphold no prophecy, fulfill no prophecy other than the prophecies of the heathen taking over that land, right? So we know, we in this truth, we know and understand that these people are not the true biblical Hebrew Israelites that the scriptures speak of, right? But we know them to be a fraud and a fake and imposters, right? But now the world is finally catching on. All of these people in America and the rest of the world are finally catching on that these are not the people because they uphold nothing that the Bible or the scriptures say that they will uphold. They fulfill no prophecy that the scriptures say that they will uphold, right? Or fulfill. And not only that, these are the most evil, wicked, demonic sect of the wicked, which is the Edomites, here in this world today. And everybody is seeing them for who they really are, right? And we all know what comes with that. Once, Esau is pinned in the corner and, he can no longer deceive you, now it's just full on wrath. It's just full out, coming at you with the sword, coming at you with the sword, coming at you with, you know, brute force, total control, and all of those things. You know what I mean? So once it gets out there, and it's like once it gets completely out there where everybody, Salakia, I don't know what just happened. My nose and nasal didn't started messing up this morning. But once it's just completely out there and just known that these people have been lying to the world for centuries, then that's when they're gonna come with the brute force. That's when this devil is gonna come upon, come down with a great flood, which is talking about his armies, his militaries, his force, his weapons, all of those things of that nature, right? So I'm gonna play this video clip here of this Edomite pastor, I believe. Now he's going off. I saw this video from what one of the Chicago brothers did, right? But this dude, he's going off. He believes in that Christian replacement theology thing. You know what I'm saying? But he recognizes that these people are not the true biblical Hebrew Israelites spoken of in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? He recognizes that they're not the real people. Now, he probably wouldn't acknowledge that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the real people, but he's starting to see it, right? And the rest of the world is starting to see it too. So let me go ahead and get to this
The
clip without further
synagogue of
ado.
Satan.
Salakia.
The Bible warns us that Israel of today, I want you to understand this, is not Hebrew nor of the sons of Jacob. I want to say it again. The modern day state, it's not a nation, of Israel.
Now, where he goes off here is he's saying that they're not Hebrew. Well, that's actually false. They are Hebrew, but they're Hebrew Edomites, right? Because the term Hebrew, which that comes from the Hebrew word ibar, right, or Eber, And, though Hebrews are the descendants of Eber or Ibar, right? Which is where Hebrew comes from. So you have a multitude of different nations who fall under the Hebrew lineage, right? Esau falls under the Hebrew lineage. Elam falls under the Hebrew lineage. Ammon, Moab, all of those nations, they fall under the Hebrew lineage, but they're not Hebrew Israelites, right? The chosen lineage came down from through Shem, right? Through Shem to Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob, right? Now it didn't go directly from Shem to Abraham, right? There were others in between, but I'm just making an example, right? These people are not the only, they say Semitic, but the real term is Shemitic, right? Shem with an A, that's the correct term, Shem, S-H-A-M, because they'll say Shem, S-H-E-M, but there's no E's in the ancient Hebrew, right? So he's going off when he says that they're not Hebrew. They are Hebrew, they're just not Hebrew Israelites, right? But he is correct when they say they're not the sons of Jacob.
Israel, they are not Hebrew, neither are they the sons of Jacob. When you try to tell somebody this, it's like there's cognitive dissonance. They can't think through the statement of what you're saying. They automatically think that any person that joins the nation and becomes an Israeli is actually an Israelite of Old Testament, but that simply is not true. The Ashkenazis, they are not Hebrews. If you don't know what that is, I want you to...
Now, when you look at, I believe it's in the book of Genesis, and you see the term Ashkenazi, right? That's actually Japhetic. But if you know history, you know that Esau, Edomites, because the Japhetic people were the original inhabitants of Europe. You'll know through, I believe, the Punic Wars that Edomites went up there and conquered Europe. And that's how they began to inhabit that land up there in Europe, right? Or what is called Europe today, right? Because that was actually considered to be a part of Asia, right? But nowadays it's called Europe. Because even when you look at a map, every continent that you see is encompassed by water. Europe is the only continent that is connected to another continent. You know what I mean? Slovakia. So Europe is really a part of Asia, but this devil, he just, through his mixing of things and changing of things, he declared Europe as its own continent, right? But when you look in the Bible and you see Ashkenazi, it's actually Japhetic. The Ashkenazi come from Japheth, right? But they took on these Edomites when they went up there and conquered that land. They took on those, Japhetic titles, so to speak, right? They took on some of those names, which is why you'll hear the term Ashkenazi Jews. And that's why a lot of people will think that these people, so-called white people, are Japhetic. They're Japheth, and they're not. That's not true. They are Edomites. You know what I'm saying? They are Edom, but they just conquered the land, the original land of Japheth, right?
Look it up, and I want you to educate yourself. The Khazarians, they are not Hebrews at all. I want you to look it up and educate yourself and understand that the majority of the people that live in the modern day state of Israel are actually Europeans, and they do not practice anything from the Bible. The majority of them are absolutely atheist. Can you imagine a European atheist trying to argue with you and tell you, well, I am God's chosen people? And you say, but you're a European and you're an atheist. How in the world could that make you God's chosen people? In fact, in 1 Peter 2, it literally says that believers who were not of a nation are now God's chosen people by faith in Jesus Christ. That's 1 Peter 2. You need to read it. That's written to saved believers.
See, he's false right there. That's written to Israelites, the true Israelites, right? Salvation is only for Israel, so he's going off there too.
Church, the congregation of the upright, the assembly that trusted in the Lord Jesus Christ, and it's written for all nations.
It's not written for all nations. It's only written for the nation of Israel.
Modern Israel is not Semitic. I want you to understand that. Surrounded by Semites, yes, but they're not actually Semitic at all.
And when I say the nation of Israel, I'm talking about Yasha Allah, the true nation, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Again, I remind you, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. The synagogue of Satan is here. It's real. Zionism is a devilish conspiracy, and most Christians are completely ignorant of these verses. The Bible warns us that Israel...
All right, so you heard the video. Let's go into the scriptures. It's the book of Ezekiel. Oh, I spelled it wrong. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36 and verse 5. And it reads, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea." Idumea is just a Greek way of saying Edom. "Which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with the spiteful minds to cast it out for a prey," right? So these Idumeans, Amalekian Idumeans, right? Or Amalek, because Amalek is a descendant of Edom, right? So they're Edomites as well, but there are a specific nation of, or within the Salakia, they're within the nation of Edom, they're the tribe of Amalek, right? So that's specifically who has inhabited the Holy Land. They've possessed the Holy Land and said that it's theirs and that they're the original people of that land, right? Which is false. These are Khazarian converts, right? These are Edomites. Of course, we know that the nation of Edom is south of the land of Judah, but these Edomites, they were cast off into the Caucasus Mountains, right? Over there in Eastern Europe, I believe, and then from there they conquered the rest of Europe. That's how they took over that land up there, right? And that's why we believe, and he's deceived the world to believe that that's where they come from, but that's not where they come from. But the Khazarians, where the people are the people who specifically converted to Jayism, and around from I believe the late 1800s up until 1948, of course, right? But starting in, I believe, the late 1800s is when they began to inhabit the Holy Land, right? And they were supposed to be at peace with those Palestinians over there, but of course, we know this devil never upholds any peace treaties or any covenants or any contracts that he has. He'll go into it just to get what he wants. So as soon as he get what he wants, he turns on you. He starts trying to go for more, at your expense, right? That's what this devil does, and that's the conflict that they're in today. They're trying to take over the land that these Palestinians have been inhabited, which that's not their land either. But they're trying to take over that land, right? So that's what the whole Gaza conflict is about. You know what I'm saying? That's why, all of these other Muslim countries they fed up with the state, the nation state of Israel, right? Which that's not prophesied in the Bible either. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 24 and verse 5. It says, "The earth is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left, right? So, yes, the earth is defiled up under these devils, right? Primarily being the chief tribe of Edom, which is Amalek. You know what I'm saying? Amalek is at the top of the Edomite nation, right? And through them, primarily, have we seen the destruction of Earth itself. You know what I'm saying? The slow destruction of Earth itself, the ecosystem, right? All the way to the way of life and the way of living, right? The society in itself in general. You know what I'm saying? You got, I've said it before, everybody, everything in this society is trying to fuck you some way. They're trying to fuck your pockets, out your money, out your paycheck. You know what I'm saying? They trying to fuck your mind, and if you ain't careful, they gonna try and fuck you literally. You know what I'm saying? So that's why this place is defiled up under this devil, right? And then the land, the Holy Land, is defiled as well, right? You got these devils. They got this thing in Tel Aviv called Pink City. You know what I'm saying? And they got the biggest Mo Pride parade in the world in Tel Aviv. You know what I'm saying? So where is that in the scriptures? That's not in the scriptures. That's not what the people of the Lord will be doing when they were brought back to the land. So that's perfect proof right there. Primary proof right there that these are not the people, because the Bible never prophesied that they would be having a pink city, you know what I'm saying, in the Holy Land. Right? That's an abomination. The scriptures speak against those activities. But these people celebrate it. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, you know, that's proof again right there that these aren't the people. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 26. And it reads, "There is a wicked man that hangeth down his head sadly, but inwardly he is full of deceit, casting down, Salakia, hold on. Yeah, casting down his countenance and making as if he heard not. Where he is not known, he will do thee a mischief before thou be aware. And if for want of power he be hindered from sinning, yet when he findeth opportunity, he will do evil." You know what I'm saying? So this devil, he takes all opportunity to do evil, to do wickedness. You know what I'm saying? He don't miss an opportunity to do wickedness or to do evil. Like what's the one of their sayings of these wicked top elite, right? One of their sayings is you can't let a good catastrophe go to waste, or a good tragedy go to waste or something of that nature, right? Meaning that when bad things happen to the common people of the world, it's the best time to profit. It's the best time to make money. It's the best time to implement new laws, new draconian measures. It's the best time to implement wickedness throughout the earth, right? And these devils never let an opportunity go to waste. They continually do it over and over and over again. Every time they get an opportunity, they're trying to perform something wicked. You know what I'm saying? And they're trying to perform the ultimate wickedness, which is what? Putting that mark under your skin to have complete control over everything that you do. Everything that you do, everything that you think. They want to have complete control and say so over that. You know what I'm saying? That's how wicked these people are. Right? The scriptures say he is a man who keepeth not at home. That's in the book of Habakkuk. Let's find that. Habakkuk chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 5. It says, "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people," right? Because what his goal is to have complete control over you, what you do, what you think, your way, your morals, your ways of life. Everything has to be in alignment with what they say is good or not good. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they're going the direction that they're going. They're going the direction of putting that mark on you under your skin to have complete and utter control over you, right? To take you to take your own human autonomy away, right? Which there's no true form of human autonomy or free will. There's no true free will. Everything is controlled by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh, right? But his method is, hey, look, we want you to eat cricket meat. You know what I'm saying? We want you to eat roach burgers. You ate too much meat. You know what I'm saying? You've had too much beef, or you've had too much chicken, right? You got to eat roach burgers from now on. You got to eat this lab grown chicken meat from now on. You can't eat the things that you want to eat. They want to be able to stop you from doing that. You've traveled too far. You know what I'm saying? You've traveled too much and too far. You can only go within a 2-mile radius from your home. And if you step outside of that 2-mile radius, we're going to revoke other privileges that you have. You know what I'm saying? That's the level of control that this devil want to have over all people. That's why they're coming with these smart cities. You know what I'm saying? That's why they're coming with these 15-minute cities, right? Everything that you do has to be within a 15-minute or a 15-minute vicinity, Salakia. That's where they're heading. That's the direction that these people are going in, and it's just complete wickedness. You know what I'm saying? This is the book of Micah, chapter 4, and starting at verse 1, it says, "But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of Yahweh, the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore," right? You can read this in Isaiah 2 as well. It says, "Nation shall not lift up sword against nation." There's going to be no more war when the true biblical Israelites are back in their land. But that's not what we're seeing today. We're not seeing that today because the people who are said to be those people and live in that land, they're not the true people. They're always at war. They're always in conflict. America is going to war for their own agendas. So, you gotta, and the world is starting to see this. The world is beginning to look at what's really going on, and they're beginning to say, man, that can't be the people. These people are evil. These people are wicked. You know what I'm saying? These people are the seed of the devil. You know what I mean? So, and it's going to be out there real soon that the true Israelites are the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. It's going to be declared throughout the world, right? We're declaring it first, right? But when it's being declared by just the common people of the world, these so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, these are the true people. Yeah, that's when, you know what I'm saying? That's when this devil is really going to start kicking things up. Because he ain't going to have nowhere to turn. He ain't going to have nowhere to hide his wickedness anymore. Everything is going to be exposed, right? So look, Lord willing, this video lesson was edifying. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Chakodash. And until next time, Shalom.